Match number 13 of the ICC Cricket World Cup 2025, and slowly and steadily it's going at a good pace because every single team are playing two matches, some are playing three matches, and done and dusted. I have Neha with me once again. It's a Sunday fixture, Neha, but this time it's not Pakistan, India's opponents, it's the mighty Aussies who are the opponents of India. Not that easy by any means. The toughest opponent, I will say, in the Cricket World Cup 2025 when we talk about the women's. First of all, a fair reflection on the previous game for both the teams. Australia were in a spot of bother, big spot of bother at one stage against Pakistan. Similarly, India were also not for the first time in a spot of bother where the top order faltered and the middle or lower middle order had to bail them out. Once again, this time it was a new start with the bat. Touch up on both the games, please.
Hi, Preetham. I think, the way the World Cup is just setting up is really amazing, right? We really thought that India and Australia would run away with honors, leaving all the other teams to just fend for themselves. But the way they've been challenged by others, that's where, India's match versus South Africa comes into context. They lost
True.
the match. We saw what Nadeem de Klerk did. A lot of
Absolutely.
questions on India's batting approach, the way they just went about a lot of other departments, the team selection itself, right? Renuka Singh not getting
100%.
picked there,
100%.
and it was definitely not a clinical performance for India. And even the matches that they had won, right, in previously didn't give you that sort of an indication. Coming to Australia too, right? I mean, the match versus, Pakistan was just like at the loss of words, honestly, because at one stage it really felt like this was done and dusted. Then we saw what Beth Mooney did, and the
The
rest, as
biggest
they say, is
upset was
history.
loading in the Cricket World Cup.
Exactly. It was going to be that sort of a moment. And the last time the two teams had met, I mean, on all the past encounters that the two teams had met, Pakistan has never managed to get the better of Australia, right? And this was going to be that sort of a moment. But then Australia doing absolute clutch things and, managing to pull off a win. But now, yeah, I mean, a lot of people had predicted that India and Australia will be finalists. So, yeah, this will be that
Okay,
sort of a
that's
teaser.
interesting. That's interesting. If India makes it to the final, I will first be very happy and proud of the side because they have the capabilities, but not playing according to their potential, as we're going to discuss. But 76 for 7 at one stage, Australia, and from there, you need a champion cricketer to bail you out. Sometimes it's Ellis Perry, sometimes you skip Elisa Healy, Phoebe Litchfield, Sutherland. I'll be short of numbers because, or short of names because even Alana King can bat, and she showed that in the previous day. Beth Mooney, what a champion cricketer. Did she show you how you should bat in subcontinent conditions?
Absolutely, Preetham. I think that was the proper representation of how to go about, constructing your knock in challenging subcontinent conditions, right? I think this was a point she alluded to even in her post-match interaction with the broadcaster, that she's just trying to
Correct.
stay in her crease, play as late as possible, and just, just correct the ball as and when necessary to get those runs. She really, really had to grind it out, earn those runs. While the rest of the batting was collapsing around her, she sort of held her ground and became an embodiment, right, for Australia in that very, very tricky phase. There were
Yeah.
7 wickets down. There was no way out, and that partnership with Alana King, Preetham, I think we can talk for ages about that,
Absolutely,
about how it
absolutely.
went
That
about.
was unbelievable. More than 100-run partnership where Alana King, being a leg spinner, front leg spin in the side, comes into the team with the bat in hand, scores 51 of 49, hits three maximums. While Beth Mooney, on the other hand, played 114 balls, champion knock of 100 without hitting a single maximum. That's how this format, that's how the sport is beauty. On the other hand, in the previous game, India, I think, first of all, moving on to the individual performance, I think India deserved the defeat. I think every single game, Sri Lanka, then you had the next game to Pakistan. We were always in a spot of bother, getting bailed out, and then bowling well to somehow get over the line. Not a single performance has been as dominant so far in the tournament. A learning lesson was there. Three times on the trot, if I'm not mistaken, in ICC when South Africa have got the better of India, women's I'm talking about, and it was Richa Ghosh who came out all guns blazing. It was a fantastic, fantastic knock. Talk us through how Richa Ghosh paced her innings.
Yeah, Preetham, I think this was one of those matches of two phases, right, for India. The first phase where India's top order was really, really struggling. The middle order clearly not being able to purchase even a single run and just losing wickets in clumps, which has been, the sort of narrative for India, right, through this World Cup. And that's where you had the lower middle order step up. In previous matches, we had seen the likes of Deepti Sharma, Amanjot Kaur, but this time it was Richa Ghosh. And man, did she, really take us all by surprise. I mean, what a beautiful knock, just coming in at that fag end. A lot of us were questioning, is this the right time to, sort of get her
Correct.
in? And then to be able to produce a masterpiece like that, I think it's just going to be etched in our memories for time immemorial. It gave India something to defend. But then, as you rightly said, India did get a lot of things wrong and kind of deserve to be on the losing side. Hopefully, they take a lot of learnings and move ahead. But I think Richa Ghosh would be happy with that.
Learnings are important, Neha, but I really want to know this in a very serious standpoint that in a 50 over game, 300 valid balls are there in a cricket match, 174 dot balls in the innings. That's unacceptable. And you are telling me, and we discussed it in the previous show as well when we talked about the previous match of India, which was the opening game, how important Smriti Mandana is to the batting unit, because every single time India are batting, we have witnessed after the power play, it's proper dead batting. And be it Harleen Diyal, be it Pratika Rawal, it's 4 or 0, 6 or 0. Where is the single rotation? And that's been the huge problem for India, because India getting a proper start courtesy of Smriti Mandana and Pratika Rawal giving their proper start. 50-55 in 10 overs is not bad by any means. And all of a sudden, after 20 overs, you're 75 or 80 or 85 for one, two, three. That's not good enough. You need to convert that and double it up. What has been the problem? Has the problem been the person we have spoken about many times in the squad discussion too? She needs to either make way or change her A game, because not a single score so far in this tournament has been a strike rate over 100. I'm talking about Harleen Diyal.
Yeah, Preetham, I absolutely hear your concerns, and all of them are valid points, right? I think let's start off with the dot ball percentage itself. I mean, India would be really looking down that barrel, and they'd be extremely disappointed because this is a good team. And in the lead up to the World Cup itself, this was a team that was consistently scoring, scores of 300 and all of that. But I think it's important to acknowledge just the conditions itself. Although this is a home World Cup for the women in blue, most of these venues are alien. They've probably played like maybe a few domestic matches. They've probably had that
Yeah.
understanding of these conditions, but it is still, new to them in that sense. And to bring in the hurling point as well at number three, I think this is, something that a lot of people have spoken about, the strike rate concern. Is there something she can probably do differently?
Yeah.
But then I think it's also important to like shed a little light on just how India's openers have been faring. Like all the Smriti and Pratika are giving you those starts, those 40 runs, 50-run starts. None of them are able to capitalize, which invariably ends up
Exactly.
putting pressure, right, on the rest of the batters coming in. Harleen's strike rate was something India knew, and selected her in spite of that heading into the World Cup as well. But I think a little more focus on probably the openers and them doing better, and then the rest of the batting, falling in line. I
One
think
of
that
the openers definitely needs to play 50 plus in terms of runs. They have to bat deep, have to bat big. Another major concern is no more sweep shots for Jemima Rodriguez. That's the only shots she's playing and getting out time and time again. Do you think she needs to be given more opportunities, just like I asked you for Harleen Diyal?
absolutely, Preetham. I think Jemima is much better than what she is currently showing us at the World Cup. Has been such a linchpin for India in that batting order, coming in at number five. This World Cup has been far from ideal, right, for her. The struggles against left arm spin, coming out so apparently playing the
Absolutely.
sweep shot and getting out two ducks. I mean, this is not what you would want to think of when you think of someone like Jemima. I think India will
We
continue,
term her
obviously.
as a busy player, but she hasn't spent much time in the middle.
Absolutely. And this is definitely not characteristic or defining of her playing her first ODI World Cup. So she'd be
Exactly.
hopeful
Yeah.
to, come a little stronger. But India's batting clearly seems to be struggling to make those runs now.
100%. And by any chance, are you missing either of Yastika Bhatia or Shefali Verma in the squad?
I mean, again, Preetham, it would be hindsight bias there. If it would be easy to admit. Yastika, I think, would have made a really good case for that number three slot, considering, the way she was playing that Australia
Yeah.
A versus India A tour. And Shefali Verma is currently doing well in the domestic side of things. So that temptation is always there to think, the what if is something that will always, sort of persist. But again, we got to back our girls. It's probably been, three tough couple of
True.
matches, but yeah, you'd still back them to, sort of go all guns blazing versus
Absolutely,
a team like
absolutely. Yeah,
Australia.
I 100% agree. And it's a huge game. Maybe things might turn around against the best of the best opponents. And we might witness that tomorrow. But venue conditions, and we talk about the conditions, India just played the game against South Africa in the very same venue. So they shouldn't be bothered about the conditions. Vizag is once again the host for this encounter. Australia will play in this venue. But we have saw that the reason why India couldn't defend the total was because of significant due. So win the toss, bat first, or win the toss, chase.
I think that's an interesting one, Preetham. Probably India would, still, if they win the toss, probably opt to bat first, put on that massive total on the board because, again, they would sort of want to back themselves, go in without that pressure. Because I know,
Interesting.
like, for a lot of teams, batting first, we've seen the trend, right? Teams batting first are clearly struggling. India would probably want to, change that trend a little bit, see if they can do something different, right? Because this, anyways, a batting team that's clearly struggling. So probably, yeah, they'd still sort of trust their batting to bail them out of trouble. Because even the bowling right now looks a little bit all over the place. Like, you have
Yeah.
certain players who are stepping up and delivering, but probably India would still, sort of back themselves to, bat first.
Bat first, win the toss, according to Neha, despite Dew being there. But what about the head to head? Head to head, India smashed away in terms of the head to head because of the mighty Aussies. We said women's cricket, you need to look into Australia. And 59 matches, 48 Australia, 11 India. It will be back to back defeats for India if they don't manage to win it on Sunday. Do you think it's going to happen, or do you think that India will fight back and make a strong comeback?
I think Preetham here, as an optimistic Indian fan, I definitely hope for India to, sort of script that underdog story to be able to actually pull off a win versus the mighty Aussies. Because as much as India has a lot of chinks in their armor, it's important to also look at Australia and be like, yeah, this is also a team that's, probably not at their clinical best. And it's a good time for us to, sort of inflict some damage. We got to see
True.
that during the precursor series to the World Cup in the Australia series itself, right? How India's able to
Yeah.
eke out that win. And as the series progressed, you could see India was able to challenge Australia. So I know the head-to-head might look very daunting on the girls, but I think, yeah, they'd still be sort of backing themselves to register a statement win. And who better than Australia,
Statement
right?
win against the mighty Aussies, says Nia, and I'm really, really hoping that her words come out to be true because she has a wonderful record in this channel whenever she says something or the other. But players to watch out for is what we head towards, Nia. Two players from both the sides. Let's take a look into that. I've gone for Smriti Mandana and Sneh Rana from India. I've gone for Elise Perry and Ashley Gardner from Australia. X Factor, I'm going for Alana King just because of the outgoing deliveries.
I think these are reasonable picks, Preetham, because Smriti Mandana, although has not been at her fluent best, you would expect her to, deliver in a big game like this. And Australia is one of her favorite opponents. She has
You have
scored,
to. You
those.
have to know. Yeah.
Yeah, and she scored those hundreds also at ease versus this opposition. So she's definitely a very good pick for that choice. Sneh Rana too, right? I think has been remarkable as an all-rounder. I'd also like to probably add Deepti Sharma there because she's one player who has constantly delivered. And from an Australia perspective too, I'd also like to add Beth Mooney because of the kind of form that she's been in. But Eddie Sperry and Ash Gardner continue to find ways to, torture
Absolutely.
Indian fans. So yeah, you definitely
Correct.
back them to be players to watch out for.
You said about torture Indian fans, but I was very impressed with the crowd that came out in numbers in Vizag. So, do you think that that will put pressure on India because it's a high voltage game? It's potential the same opponents. If you're making it to the finals, you're going to face them again. Okay, will there be pressure on them, or will they give you? Will they get a lot of confidence seeing that there are many players, many supporters behind them?
I think again, Preetham, here it's a case of two sides of the same coin, right? You're playing a home World Cup. There's obviously a lot more eyeballs than expected. Considering the DNA of this team, right? They love to take on that pressure. They love, the crowds coming in, actually supporting them vehemently. So I really think that's going to be like a sort of motivator for them to,
True.
possibly do better and sort of, just make the most of the energy and vibe of the stadium. So I keep my fingers crossed that they would actually love to see that vibe, and the pressure hopefully brings out the best in them.
That is absolutely at playing 11. This is going to be very, very important. Let's take a look into that. I'm going for Australia. I'm going for one change. I think the left arm spin has been a huge worry for India. And Sophie Molyneux comes into my side, Neha. So I bring her into the side alongside Megan Shoot, Kim Gad, and the rest of the players are there. For India, I've made that risky change. I've gone with Renuka Singh Thakur comes into my 11, Jemima at number 3.
I think these are very interesting changes, Preetham. Let's dissect it one by one. With Australia, I think it's a valid, pick with Sophie Molyneux. In fact, the last game itself, I was a little surprised as to why they, want to like beef up their pace side of things and not, sort of trust Sophie Molyneux. But I think come this India game, she's going to be absolutely crucial. Probably the conditions are something she can really feed off from. And from the India playing 11, Preetham, I must say a very bold choice there to, drop Harleen and, sort of just mix up that batting order a little, get Jemmy up there. So, you can bring in that extra option with Renuka. Like, I think on paper, it definitely sounds like a great playing 11 where there's balance and stability across both the departments. But here's the big question, Preetham. Will India actually do this in a World Cup, right? Like dropping a player
But
like
you
Hardeep
cannot drop
backward.
Renuka Singh Thakur. She's the swing queen with the new ball. You cannot do that. And similarly, Kranti
Yeah.
Gaur is doing her magic with the new ball. Is it once again Amanjot? Because if you drop Amanjot, you do not get Amanjot's batting.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one, Preetham. In my mind, I thought Harleen continues to play at that number 3 slot. Probably, someone like a Sri Charani makes way for Renuka. At least I was thinking of it in that way. But with this Indian think
Okay.
tank and management, I think it's going to
That,
be
that
very
that's
interesting
that's
here.
not. I will not say that's a bad choice because Sri Charani has not been amongst the wickets. That keeps you down to just two spinners, Deepti Sharma and Sneh Rana. both are off spinners, and that's going to be key because you cannot have anybody outgoing to the right handers, and that's where Sri Chananui comes into play. Many debates are coming into equation, putting you into the hot seat. This is where you need to make or break. Neha, predictions time now. India
Okay.
versus Australia, Super Sunday. It's match number 13. Moreover, Harmanpreet Kaur versus Elisa Healy. And your predictions for this one, please.
Yeah, I think this one I'm honestly on the hot seat. Like I can actually feel the heat come through, like everywhere. Yeah, I mean, the optimistic Indian fan in me would obviously, want to put a percentage that's skewed in India's favor. But in all fairness, considering the kind of rivalry that the teams share, with a very, very heavy heart, I'm going to go with 60-40, 60% to Australia and that 40 to India. Like, if they win, I'd be more than happy. But realistically, I think Australia is in a much
Absolutely.
better headspace to actually put off a win.
When we talk about unbiasedness, and I think the prime example in Fifth Umpire's channel has been Neha, because throughout every time she comes out, Indian fan by heart, but when you talk about cricket discussions, she goes by mind, and that's the reality. Neutral answer 60-40 towards Australia, and absolutely the right prediction, according to me, too. I would have rather given a 70-30 because of the current form, too. Thanks a lot, Neha. Thanks to all the viewers for watching this video. Is another Sunday where the Indian fans will be celebrating and Indian fans will go to sleep with a smile on their face. It's over to you, Harmanpreet Kaur and Said. Thanks a lot, Neha. Thanks to all the viewers watching this video. That's all we have between India and Australia. We are building India's smartest cricket community. Subscribe to become a part of it.